all my crafty people out there. It's time for our next project. And quite frankly, down here, we are not seeing any kind of cool temperatures with the coming of the fall. I believe the temperature out there right now at noon is around 87. So it's cooler, but we don't get super cold until like January. So it's a little hard to get involved in the fall transition clothing, that kind of thing, because you can't wear anything super warm. But in the hopes that we will be able to soon, I found this little cropped hoodie. It's a little hoodie, and it's got kind of little poofs on the sleeves and these really nice little metal tips. So it's a really pretty orange, kind of burnt orange fall color. And it is, I think it says Wild Fable. Anyway, I'm going to put a comp up on it. I think I found a black one. I couldn't find another one on this color online, so this one might be a little unusual. So I've got this shirt, and it's already cropped, but you'll see my little safety pin here. Because I'm short-waisted, I'm going to actually shorten it by another 2 inches. This is about 2 inches right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to put something on the bottom of it. And I know y'all have seen this done before. And what we're going to put on the bottom of it, I found this really pretty men's shirt. Now, it's not a super pricey brand or anything. This is Roundtree and York, so it's not super fancy, but I thought the color was perfect for fall. I don't know if it's coming through on the screen very well, but it's more of almost a deep olive green and black coloring. Some people might think it was brown. It just probably depends on what you put it with. So I'm going to take the bottom half of this shirt and I'm going to add it to the bottom of this shirt. And I think, with the exception of just maybe a little, but not much, maybe an inch, maybe 2, it'll fit quite perfectly in this wider bottom of the crotch sweatshirt. Now, at first I thought, well, you know what, it'd be really cute if we put a little jack-o'-lantern face or something on the front of the sweatshirt. But again, I'm limited here to how long I can wear any kind of fall clothing, and I may not be able to actually put this into action until after Halloween. We have been known to be sweating while we're trick-or-treating down here. So, that being said, instead of making it something that's strictly Halloween or as close as possible, I thought we might take one of the sleeves, which I never know what to do with, and we might make us, y'all know I like the pockets, and we might make us a pocket that goes across. Let me see if I can unbutton this one. We'll have to cut the sleeve obviously to get you a full visual, but we're going to make a pocket that goes across the bottom with one sleeve. Now I thought about doing 2 sleeves and doing them side by side, but the problem is they're really tall and they would take up a large portion of the shirt. So I think I'm going to have to do it this way and just use one and make it a single pocket. Now the good thing is, because it's a shirt, this part is finished, so I may be able to cut it off right here where the 2 ends meet of the sleeve, the opening of the sleeve open, and use this where I don't have to hem it, and I can make it a pocket that you can insert your hands in. So this is all my plans. We all know those are grand sometimes, so we're going to see what happens. The first thing I'm going to do, I've already measured where I want the shirt to hit me, and I want it 2 inches shorter than it already is. So that's one and done. All I've got to do with that, and I may just sew, I'll cut it off. It's typical jersey, so it's not going to fray real bad, and that I'll just sew directly to it, and I'm going to put seams inside I thought about the messy look for seams outside, but I'm more keen on the seam inside. So we're going to put the seams inside. It's going to look a lot like what you're seeing here. And when I tried it on and put this much fabric at the bottom, it goes right above, maybe a few inches above my knee. So I think it'll be great to wear with tights. So first things first, I'm actually going to cut the sleeves off of this shirt. And I'm not going to cut it open on the sides. I'm going to leave everything on it, even the buttons, everything. And I'm going to cut it right below this third from the bottom button. And that should give me more than enough to work with. And that button won't get in the way. And we'll just cinch up that buttonhole in the sewing of it to the sweatshirt. Okay, I decided that since this shirt is so big, we needed a better view. So I changed my camera angle to give us a better view. Not to mention I had to fight with getting this thing straight for a little bit. So now we're about as straight as we're going to get. And I said we wanted to cut it up to this third button. All right, I'm going to go, yeah, third button. And one of the other reasons I'm going to cut it up to that third button is because of this pocket. And I was going to take the pocket off as well and use it on the shirt, but I'm digging the sleeve thing. So we're going to cut it right below this button. And I want to get some, good thing is this is plaid, and I think I can utilize the plaid to my advantage, at least somewhat. It's not a large plaid by any means, but I think I can utilize the plaid to get a nice straight line. So because I don't think my rotary blade's going to go all the way across. Now, I've got 12.5 inches between this line and the tip of my hem over here. So I'm going to do this little right there. So when I go across here, I've at least got a point of reference, I guess I should say. All right, that looks pretty good. Thank goodness for plaid, right? All right, we're going to use the good old scissors because a rotary, honestly, I could use the rotary, but I don't have a ruler that'll go that far, I don't think. I don't think my ruler will reach across there. And that button will be kind of in the way, so I'm just gonna zip through it this way. I'm going to do it as carefully as possible. Sorry, there's a pen stuck to my scissors. You can take as long a stroke as you can with your scissors and cut through this placket. That'll give you a more even cut. All right, now we've got the half that we're going to put on the bottom of our shirt. I'll fold it up. Like I said, I'm not taking anything off of that, seams, nothing. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and take both of these sleeves. I actually only need one. I'm just going to try the one. And if I decide that the sleeve isn't the kind of pocket I want to make, then I can take this pocket off here and use it on the front. I just want a pocket. I think it'll look better with a pocket. So I like to just cut up the side of these. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to snip the sleeve. And the reason I'm doing that this way is because I never know if there's something I can use the rest of this body for. I want to keep it. So I'm just going to cut the sleeve off. And I'm just following along that seam line. And the seam line is pressed towards the body of the shirt, the thicker part, and it's sewn there, double stitched there. It's not a poorly made shirt. It's just not a very expensive shirt. But the fabric is super nice. Super soft. Almost like a, we call it a Pima cotton. Super nice. And I've already washed these and put them through the dryer, and this is one of those, I think it's called, yeah, Roundtree travel shirt, or travel smart. So it's not going to wrinkle too bad. This would have been a great shirt to make one of my granddaughter's dresses out of. They've got to be non-wrinkle. My daughter's not an ironer. Heck, I'm not an ironer unless I really have to. Who wants to iron? All right, now we're going to take this sleeve and good thing is I got a backup. So I'm going to cut it off right here where the where it meets, where the placket meets and the opening is. And again, I'm going to try and follow this plaid so I might use the ruler on this one. So I can see where the seam is. I want to try and catch that or get right past it. All right, now here's my open sleeve. Oops, hit the microphone, sorry about that. And I think this is going to be a cute little puffy pocket. I think I may even be able to sew it like this. I'm gonna take the serger and serge the bottom of it so it won't fray, and that'll give me the ability to just turn it under as a little hem. And I'm gonna sew it directly to the sweatshirt just like this, and I'll sew it from the top as well. And I think that'll give me a cute little pocket that I can put. I should be able to fit my hands in. I shouldn't have any problem fitting my hands in. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. All right, the only other thing I've got to cut up. So I've got the bottom of my shirt. I've got the sleeve that's going to become our pocket. I'm going to cut this up. And I'm going to cut 2 inches around. In other words, there's a little bit of a kind of a curve to the sweatshirt. There's a little more in the back than there is in the front. I'm trying to decide if I should just cut it straight across. I'm tempted. Actually, it's not too bad as far as that curve goes, so I think I could technically just lop it off. So let's take the pen out because we know it's 2 inches. Let's move this back over here so I don't cut it. Oh, and by the way, both of these were purchased at American Thrift. So the hoodie was $5.99. Oop, there you go, centered, sort of. And the shirt was $8.49. So it's kind of a pricey little project for me, but I think it'll be worth it. I'm hoping to get at least a few months wear out of it. Maybe in November. Nah, it probably won't happen. Maybe in November. There might be a couple of days. December, hopefully. January for sure. But down here, we have another season that comes in that I think y'all are going to enjoy the project for, and I am not going to tell you too much about it, but it does have something to do with the festival, the carnival season, and we will just leave it at that. I think you'll be very excited to see what we end up doing. I've wanted to do one for a long time, so I'm pretty excited. I have a couple of Halloween projects that I will be showing y'all as well, so stay tuned for those. All right, I've turned it inside out. I'm going to make sure I've got all of the edges lined up as straight as possible. I'm going to use my board because it's stretchy fabric, and we want to just make sure that we're right here on this line so we won't cut too much of anything. And I'm going to use that board. Yeah, actually, that's a great idea. Let's turn it this way. I know it's kind of sideways for y'all, but I'm going to use this board. Hopefully I've got a ruler. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if my ruler will take it. I think it will be long enough. The other shirt was just a little too long. I'm just trying to get this to line up and make sure it doesn't go too wonky. Of course, like even if it was a little, that's not going to be a big difference because we're going to make a straight line of this. And if I can get my favorite ruler out, my big boy there with the lip on it. Yeah, I think I can make it work. Okay, so we need to go 2 inches back. I'll tuck in that tag so I can see the 2-inch mark. 2 inches. All right. That was 2 inches, right? Looks a little high. I think I'm going to take 1.5 inches. I just got this creepy feeling that I need to take a little less. Okay. Well, you know what? Yeah, the reason I need to take a little less is that I've got to have a seam allowance. So that's a little long. So let's go ahead and cut it. Cut just an inch off. I know that seems kind of superficial, but on a short-waisted person as myself, it makes a difference. So we're going to cut 1 inch off, and then we're probably going to use a 1/2 inch for our seam allowance, so that should be more than enough. And if it's not, it's easier to take away than to add. All right, kind of took the tag out there. No worries. It's just a regular machine wash tag. Actually, I might just go ahead and cut that out. There we go. I don't really need the tag. All right, so we've made it a little shorter, not much, but when I sew this on, twofold. One, it'll be easier to sew on without that hem, and two, it'll give me a little less length, which I need because I'd be short. All right, I'm going to experiment on pinning this, make sure that it's not going to be too wide and how much we're going to gather and everything, and I'll get back with you and show you where we are with that. All right, one thing before I start pinning, I didn't think about this, but it's really important to find the center of my sweatshirt, which is right here. It's 24 inches across, so that's my 12-inch mark, and then I mark the same mark on the back because then we're going to be able to center our shirt, and we know the center of our shirt, at least the front of it, is the button placket right here. So we know that that's the center, but I just folded it in half like this and finger pressed it in this corner to find the center of the back and mark it as well. So now I have 4 points to balance it when I'm putting it together here on this shirt. And the thing I'm going to do before I start to pin it, I didn't think about this as well, it's something I do with my little granddaughter's shirts so the buttons don't open. I'm going to go and sew this placket closed, and that way it'll be easier to keep track of the center, obviously, and I won't have to, I may just sew it down to this bottom button and leave this open, because I don't mind the front being open. I just don't want this top to be open while I'm trying to sew it to the other top. So I'm going to take this over to the machine. I'll be right back, and when I come back, and like I said, all I'm doing is I'm just sewing this part of the placket closed. So I'm just going to run a seam down the sides of these buttons to close up that placket. I'll use a zipper foot. Gets by the buttons easier. And then when I come back, we'll start pinning it to the other portion of the shirt. Okay, I ran over to the machine, and all I did was sew up this placket. It's just so it doesn't come open. It's open at the bottom, but I didn't want the buttons to come open, and it'll make it easier to secure it to the fabric. So we've marked our center marks, and I have this facing right side out, so you see the buttons. And what we're going to do, the shirt is facing wrong side out. We're going to do it kind of like we do a purse. We're going to shove this inside here. And remember to make sure that your button placket is centered on this center mark in the front of your hoodie. I know all this sounds, obvious, but I've messed it up before. I ain't even gonna lie about it. So that's about center of that button placket right there. So I'm just gonna pin that on. All right, and then we're gonna go find the center. Oh, well, I pinned both sides. Goober. All right, then we're going to go find the other side. We're going to take that center mark we put on the back of the shirt, and we're going to line it up with the center mark on the back of the top half of the jersey shirt. And we're going to pin that. All right, and then divide and conquer. We're going to take that side seam and put it on the side seam of the sweatshirt. It's going to be our other quadrant marker. And it doesn't matter which way. You want to press the seams away from each other, finger press them away from each other so you don't have a bulky spot for your machine. My machine appreciates every bulk I can take out of it. So we're going to pin this corner here, or this quadrant, however you want to look at it. I know it's a binary thing. You're just dividing into every time. All right, now I have to admit, I think this is going to fit quite perfectly without any real serging. I've had a couple of comments that I'm lucky. I'm actually not going to disagree with that. I tend to get really lucky with... Now, don't get me wrong, I did put these up together in the thrift store and gauge whether or not I'd have enough fabric in one to meet the other. But I know I'm going to have a little extra, but I think because the cotton shirt is not stretchy and this is, I believe what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this on the serger, and that way I won't have any kind of major hiccups as far as the stretch, and I think it'll fit in perfectly without me having to do any gathering or pleating. And if I did have to pleat in any way, shape, or form for any kind of little excess fabric, I would try to push that towards the back, because pleats in the front, that's just not pretty. Nope. Not for me, at least. May work for other people, not for me. So I'm not pinning this tremendously. I'm just kind of spotting it through, maybe 2 or 3 pins in between each of the quadrant pins. And I'm going to trust my serger to take care of the excess when I'm serging it, and like I said, the sweatshirt will stretch. So, sorry, we got a little wind in the front porch, just got some wind, and anyway, kind of, that's what I stopped for. So, I'm going to take this over to the serger. Now, I did have a thought. My thought was, should I put the pocket on before we do this? And I'm thinking not. And the only reason I'm thinking not is because I want to see what it looks like all together before I put that pocket on. I want to make sure that pocket doesn't make it too busy or fits right. So I'm going to change out my serger thread to black, and I'm going to meet y'all over at the serger, and we're going to serge this around, and then we'll decide about that pocket, and we may be through. Cross your fingers. It's going to be a quickie. Okay, everybody, we're trying a new angle. Got another light, and this is going to be fairly up close and personal as far as the serging part goes. Thought maybe some of y'all might enjoy that. I love to watch this machine run. Alright, I'm going to start. I'm actually going to start in the center here. Not sure if that's the smart thing or not. But I think if I start in the center, then I can push anything out towards the back. And I want to make sure that this stays centered. Alright, let me get my pin cushion so I can take these pins out as we go. Alright, let's see. Again, y'all might get a lot of hand movements in here because this is a new angle. And I'm going to sew with the plaid side up, but I'm going to make sure, obviously, the whole time. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start on the side seam. Because this sewing in the round, you get that little weird piece at the end, and I'll just catch it on there. And I think I can make sure that my center is centered from there. That didn't really make a lot of sense, but you know what I mean. Alright, I put black serger thread on my machine. And I'm going to make sure, obviously, that nothing's hanging out that shouldn't. I'm not cutting anything off, really. I want to catch that pin. Gonna be a little stiff because it's right here on the front pocket. That went through pretty good. I know I need to change these serger needles out. We're just gonna sew a little more. Sorry, not trying to hit the camera there. Giving y'all a little shake. This new camera angle might not work. It's a little up close and personal. I think what I'll do after this though, to clean and finish this stitch up really well with seam line, I might fold it over and sorry, y'all are seeing a lot of fabric. There we go. Make sure that sweatshirt is lined up and not in the way. Ooh, this angle is not going to be really good. I mean, it's great for y'all. It's hard for me not to hit it. Sorry about all the shaking. There we go. Now I can find it. Okay. And this is the last little few inches. Alright. Sorry for all the shaking, but pretty happy with the serger taking this on, and it is a darn near perfect fit. All the seams are lining up really well. I'm kind of super excited. Let's go over to the table and see if we can figure out how we're going to put this pocket on. Okay, I went over there and all I did was serge the edge of the pocket, or what's going to be the pocket, and I stitched it over so it's got a seam. I didn't need to do that because when I put it on here, the stitching will go over it and cover that anyway, and in case that serge, but I did it just because I could. So like I said, I think I'm going to keep these pleats and try and make sure that I'm centered. Right there. I think that's my center mark. Let's mark it. Make it easier instead of just finger pressing it. Alright, so we know if this and this is all lined up, we're pretty centered. And there's my little line. So I'm feeling pretty centered. I'm going to pin it down at the bottom. Now I've got to put my hand in here. Make sure I just catch the front of the sweatshirt. That is the more complicated part about adding this pocket afterwards, but again, I wanted to make sure, first of all, it was going to look right. And secondly, that it was, centered properly. It would be easier to center it after I've sewn on the other parts. And we're just going to kind of rough pin it here. Make sure we catch everything. Because remember, we're going to leave this part open so we can put our hands in it like a regular pocket, like a sweatshirt pocket. I was kind of surprised this one came without one. All right, and I'm going to pin a little bit at the top. I'll start with that center mark. Now I have made some things with these cuffs. I made some little bags for my friend to use for her jewelry sales. And they're cute, but there's just not a lot you can do with these sleeves, or that I have found, because they're not easy to quilt, and honestly they're not even easy to make the little bags out of, because some of them are super heavy on the stitching and you just can't get through them, not comfortably. All right, I think that's what it's going to look like. Let's see. Let's give a rough 6. See, it's shorter this way. To this seam, it's 5.5, and to this seam, oh, no, it's 5.5. It's just the bottom that seems to be a little off, but I think that's because one point comes out the other way. But I think this is going to work just fine, and we won't have to use a special foot because we won't have to get by these buttons because we're not sewing this part. We're just sewing this and this. So let's go to the sewing machine, do that little bit of sewing, and also while we're there, I'm probably going to put a top stitch around the bottom just to give it a finished look. Make sure it's, you know, doesn't look goofy. All right, let's go back to the machine. Oh, the sewing machine this time. Let's see. All right, now I've got the arm, the excess part of my arm off, and I've got my shirt slipped up over the edge of my machine here, and I'm going to just start. I'm going to start off the edge. I want to sew a little extra on the edges to make sure that it's secure. And the thing I was talking about earlier that I've done with these shirt sleeves is this. It's I just make a pocket out of it by sewing up the sides, and then you have an adjustable pocket or bag, and I thought it would be good for her to put her little earring cards and stuff in, but I haven't seen anything else I can do with these yet. But some of them are really tough because the thickness of the sides of the sleeve or the seams. Alright, I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to put my needle as close to the edge as I can get it, because I don't want to lose any of my pocket. I know how I am about my pockets. I'm going to do a little bit of back stitching, because this is a stress point in the seam. I'm just going to sew on. Get to this little pleat, it shouldn't have any trouble taking that. And that was just a decorative way of containing that anomaly on the sleeve anyway. You don't want to pull your fabric because remember you're sewing on jersey. You just want to kind of ease it along and use the cotton part to keep things straight. Down. A little back stitching. And we'll do the top. I'm just going to scrunch it down a little further on the machine. And I'm going to start this top as close to that curved edge of the sleeve as I can. Back stitch. Let's go. Like I said, make sure you don't stretch your fabric if you can. Stress point. Now we have a pocket. And yes, my hands fit in it. Sweet. Okay. Now I'm going to sew around the edge here, and I won't make y'all watch that. It's just a straight stitch. What I'm trying to do, I'm actually going to turn it inside out to do this. And I might change my thread cover color out to, I don't have anything kind of this color. It's kind of a burnt orange color. You know what? I'll sew this down to this part, because the color thread I have will go in this better than it would on this burnt orange color. So again, I'm just putting the shirt back on the machine, making sure I don't have any doubling up under here, like the sleeve that wants to come up. Make sure that's pushed up and away. And I'm just going to push this over the edge. I'm going to push the sweatshirt part, the seam, towards the shirt. And I'm going to change my position back to the center. And I'm just going to go around the edge to give it a finished look, and then we'll meet back at the table to see what it looks like. Alright, looks like it turned out pretty cute. Of course, the real test will be when we put it on, or when I put it on. But I went ahead and, as I showed y'all before I left the machine, I top stitched that seam, and I pushed the seam down towards the bottom. So that is finished. The pockets are big enough for me to put my hands in. And I think I'm going to try these on with some tights, maybe even some black tights, and see how it turned out. All right, we'll go with the reveal next. See ya over there. Okay, y'all, what you think? I think it turned out super cute. It's definitely got fall written all over it. If it wasn't 85 or almost 90 degrees out there right now, I'd wear it. Now the pocket turned out a little high, so I look a little goofy putting my fingers in there or my hands in there. But I think it's a cute decorative piece on the top, so I kind of like it. You can see it with the buttons and everything. Not a difficult project, pretty simple. Gives me an extra outfit for the fall whenever it gets here. So super simple. Again, all I did was make sure when I was in the thrift store to measure the two shirts together and make sure that they were meeting each other at least most of the way. I wanted this shirt to be bigger than this shirt if necessary so I could pleat it. This one just happened to work out to be perfect. And like I said, I'm wearing tights with it, so that'll be fine. Nice and casual. Football weather, if we ever get any again. So thanks again for watching, and I really appreciate all y'all's support. And send me any questions, comments, let me know what you think. Next week, I think we'll be working on something completely different. I'm thinking we're going to do a Halloween project, and I think you'll like it. But it is definitely something I'm doing for a child, but it's not clothes. That's all I'm going to tell you. Anyway, I'll see y'all next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side of our next project.